Thank you so much for being here, Akira. You are officially my first guest podcast. I'm so
Woo! I'm
excited.
happy to be here.
Yeah. So, as we were discussing a little bit earlier, we met in October of 2020.
Mhm.
That is officially our anniversary. And and you had reached out to me because you were putting together this group. Do you want to kind of talk a little bit about that and how we first connected?
Sure, sure. It's funny that you asked because we had to do some scrolling in the DMs, and I actually slid into yours, and I think I really can't remember which post I saw or how I came to your page, but I just remember whatever I saw, I liked, and I was like, I want to get to know this girl. I want to figure out what she's doing, figure out what I can learn from her, and hopefully what she can learn from me. So I did when I created this community, the Pause and Take a Sip, which we later named it. I wanted her to be a part of that. So that was kind of just how I jumped into that, and thankfully you were all about it.
Yeah, that's actually something even before you reached out to me, it's something I had thought about was just having this community where I could connect with other business owners. And at the time, I think I had been a new business owner for a few months or so. And so that was really, really helpful and perfect timing when you reached out to me. And actually, I've never asked you, but what was kind of your thinking behind starting that? Like, why specifically were you looking to create that community?
I think it's just that, like that word community. Like I wanted to have folks that I could vent with, that I could bounce ideas off of in the industry. And I think just from my day to day and meeting others in this neighborhood that were doing dog walking or dog sitting, what may have you, we had a lot to really relate with each other. And then it was during COVID. So, it was a weird time, and so it just was, I think everyone in general, no matter what you were doing, everyone was craving that sense of community at the time. And so I think that really like fed into it even more. And just wanting, like I said, that support, and just someone to do it with, do business with.
Hmm. I think that's really great. And I think, for me, like I personally believe in collaboration over competition. And, I've seen our group support each other time and time again. And it's something that I'm really grateful for.
Definitely.
But let's back up just a little bit. Why don't you introduce yourself, how you started your business, what you currently do, if this is your full time job or not, and we'll kind of go from there.
Yes. So Akira Bradley. I won't go into the whole like co-owner Barker the Bradleys went to school and everything like that because I sure you did a lovely bio for me. Thank you very much. But I am not doing this full time yet. Emphasis on the yet. I am a reliability engineer for the government, and
What's a reliability engineer?
everybody always asks that. And I think that the simplest way to really explain it is the study of how and when things fail. So if you're thinking about like a lot of the warranty programs or
Hmm.
even insurance, because it's basically like how long we think you're going to make it. Um,
Hmm.
those kind of calculations and data, but doing that for equipment.
Oh, cool. So it's not the systems itself that you're analyzing, but the equipment?
So it depends on what level you have to look at it on, but usually when we're creating the designs, we don't really know what the top level system reliability is going to be. So you do more of like a
Hmm.
bottom up approach, and you look at, okay, what are the
Got it.
equipment that's within this system, and how long do we think it's really going to, make it.
I'm such a nerd. I would totally nerd out on that. Like that actually sounds really, really
And
interesting
it
to
it
me.
is. I'm in a really good position because like I love the dog walking, but I don't hate my job. It's not like, oh my
Hmm.
God, I can't wait till the day is over. I can't, believe I'm doing this. I actually am interested in I mean, I went to school for it, so it's like I'm interested in
Hmm.
the work, but it's just, that little part of your heart that's like, okay, you're good at this, but what do you really want to do?
So let's dive into that. When did you kind of first feel that twang in your heart of I really want to do something else
I'm trying to
or something in addition.
Right. I'm trying to think of the exact like month, year, things like that. And I believe it was around 2014. It wasn't too long after I graduated from grad school. And I remember my husband being like, "Why do you have an MBA if you don't have a business?" And I was like, there's a lot of people that have MBAs that don't have businesses. It's like, if you're in a management position or like you just want to have some leadership skills, like there's so many other reasons to do it.
Right.
But I was like, I mean, I guess I could though. So we started making this list of what business we would have. And he was a police officer. So one of them actually was like private security. Like we kept the list
Hmm.
because we're like, okay, maybe one day, we'll do something else.
Go back and reference
Right,
it. And yeah,
exactly.
can pull from that.
Exactly. But we kind of landed on dog walking because there was a church sermon around that time that was like, hey, everyone has gifts. And like, how do you figure out what your gift is? And
Hmm.
the suggestion was one of the easiest ways is you kind of look around and see what do you already do for free for your friends or for your neighbors? Like, what do they
Mm.
call upon you to do? And that's specifically something that they think you can do better than anyone else they would ask. And so I think just being a typical dog mom,
Hmm.
I think I was textbook with King when we first got him. It was, I think, oh gosh, there was a vet appointment that I couldn't make it to, and Alton had to go, and I sent him a long list of like questions. And he was like, I'm never doing that again. He's like, the vet literally laughed at me because she said, why is she asking all these questions? Why is she that worried about his saliva and his stool? But I was like, on it. And so I think people around us kind of like fed off of that and they're like, if she's a crazy dog mom, like she's gonna take care of our babies too. So
I love that, and I can totally
we
relate. I
fell
have
into
this
it.
document for when people take care of Kono that I send to them, and it's this huge
Oh
long
my
thing. So
goodness.
I can just imagine.
Yeah, so it was like, okay, why not get paid to do what I already was like I'm good at? I was that person like, can I pet your dog? Like, so
Hmm.
it just
Were
is what it
you
is.
at the time watching Friends Dogs for free?
Mhm. Yep, and
Mm.
helping him out. And of course, everyone would be like, "Oh no, I can't do that," and they give us like gas gift cards or what may have you. But it was really something
Hmm.
that we just like enjoyed doing. And we were already seeing
Awesome.
them like where we lived. It was great because there was a dog park in the apartment complex, but it was only for the residences. So we
Hmm.
had maybe 5 or 6 of us that would meet up like every night religiously at the same time and like just go and let our dogs hang out and play. So we were already comfortable with the other dogs. They were comfortable with us. King was comfortable with them. So it was like it just
Hmm.
kind of naturally happened like, oh, we're going out of town, do you mind? And it was really easy for them, for the dogs too, I think, to just say, oh, I'm already familiar with this person and this dog.
Yeah, and that's super important because as I've learned, not all dogs are comfortable with every single dog. So it's good that
Hmm.
you were able to be aware of that and understand that that was important for King. So when you first had the idea, so this is something that was organic, it's something you were doing already, why not make it a business?
Hmm.
What was your first step, if you can remember? What was the first thing you did after you decided, all right, this is going to be a business?
I think the first step was coming up with a name. And Barking with the Bradleys came to me so quickly. It was weird. I think I probably went back and forth with a few in my mind, but like Barking with the Bradleys, as soon as that came up, I was like, oh, that's it. And
Hmm.
to this day, everyone's always like, oh, it's so cute. It's super long though, and so that's inconvenient. And like even on our cards and stuff, it'll cut off, so it says like Barking with the Bra. So so that's unfortunate. But I mean, like the name is just so catchy. And then Alton's like in it for the long haul because he can't, leave me. I need his last name. So
You do. It ties you guys
I
together.
know,
This
right?
is how marriages stay together. That's the secret.
That's the secret sauce, guys. You've
Just
heard
kidding.
it
I'm
here
not one to
first.
give out
No,
marriage advice.
you heard it here first.
Cool. So you guys got the name. And I know that you guys had previously you had lived in California, right? But not California the state,
Right.
California the city, which
Mhm.
I had no idea existed.
Yep, false advertisement. But
Yeah.
it was great. That's where it all started. Like I said, we had
Mhm.
that community, going back to the community. And I think that was one of the main reasons I had that exposure to, like I said, the other dogs, like walking them and watching them
Mhm.
and having my hand at that. Because I mean, it is fun, but at the same time it's a big responsibility. The same way that you're really cautious and protective of your dog, like so are they. So it's a big
Right.
deal. A lot can happen. Um, you know, dogs running away, cars, and food, mishaps and things like that. So it was a lot, but it gave us that chance. I guess we can call it like a soft launch, because at that time we weren't official. We were just kind of like, like your neighborhood babysitter.
Mhm.
So it was a good way to get our hands dirty with it.
And that's really cool that it's cool to know that the people in your community trust you with their dogs cuz as a dog mom myself, that's huge.
Mhm.
Like that is a really big responsibility and I think it says a lot about you guys and the service that you provide that people in your community trusted you with that.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so so once you launched officially, what were some of the or I guess do you have a date that would be like your official launch date or did it kind of just grow and evolve naturally?
So our official, like when we got our license from the state, was January 21st, 2019.
Oh, okay, so
Hmm.
it's coming up this month.
Yes.
I
So
was going to say 2 years, but it's 3 years. It's
I know
2022.
it's crazy. It's
Oh
ridiculous.
man.
Because I almost thought the same thing. I was like, oh, 2 years. It's been
Yeah.
2022 is three. Yeah, it's
2022,
wild.
yeah.
But yeah, that was the day we made it official. We were like, okay, I guess, because we came up with a name. I made some like free logomaker.com, like made a logo and some business cards from Vistaprint. Was like, oh, let's do this. Let's put flyers up. But after being in it for, so how many years did that take us from? If it was like 20, oh, it was 2016. I got that backwards. I graduated from undergrad in 2014. So it's from 3 years that we were
Oh
unofficially
wow,
in
like soft
business.
launched and yeah.
And I mean, we
And
moved
then
maybe like four times within that. So, starting all over each and every time, and then also working our other careers. And so it really took a while for us to say, like, okay, I think this is something like we could really make this happen. Like, we can maybe
mhm.
pivot and do this full time.
So and we'll get to that, but when you did move and start over, did you pretty much do the same thing when you were in a new neighborhood, like print out flyers, put them out everywhere? Where were you putting these flyers?
So that did kind of have to change a little bit. Because we can focus on this most recent move for where we are now.
Hmm.
Going from the place we were before, which was a apartment complex in a district that was pretty much like a young professional's dream. Like that was our market. You had these young
Hmm.
professionals who, a lot of them were, if they were in a relationship, they were still without kids or maybe not even married, but they had dogs. So their dogs at this point are their kids. Like all their extra money is going to their dogs. And so that was our target market.
Yep,
But
me.
but then when we made the shift to the suburbs, it was like, okay, wow, you look around and you see a lot of stay-at-home moms and stay-at-home dads, a few of those as well. And you see the kids, maybe three, maybe four kids. So the dog becomes, I know they probably don't want to say it, but the dogs become more of an afterthought, like they're not
Hmm.
really getting as much as the time and the attention in most cases. And so at that point, there's nothing wrong with that, but you're gonna have to change your like marketing strategy a little bit. It's not so much of, do you want your dog pampered? It's, I know you have a lot going on your plate right now. How about one less thing to worry about? let me come,
Mhm.
take your dog out. Or also the older, going even a step further, in decades, or maybe 2 decades older, you have the folks that have since became empty nesters, so now again their
Mhm.
dogs are their children. And so all those are pretty much like the sweet spots, but we just kind of had to feel out, like, okay, who's our target market where we are right now. And it changed. And dependent upon that, that's where we like did the flyers a little different. Or now next door has been huge. I don't know if you're
Mhm.
familiar with that, but like just posting on next
Yeah.
door, and just I have notifications set up, so every time someone asks about like dog sitting, I literally have like, I know they're probably tired of me, the other people looking for work, because I have like a copy paste, like, "Hi, my name is Akira, me and my husband," and of course I'll
Super
I'll
smart.
tweak it.
Automate as much as you
Yeah,
can.
I'll tweak it a little bit. Like, we would love to take care of your dogs. But I mean, I'm just trying to stay on top of whatever people are needing in the community. And then once that
Mhm.
happens, it's just like word of mouth, you know? So and so told me that you watch their dog. We're going out of town. Can you help? And then we love
Right.
hearing that. That's the biggest. I think I heard that quote before. Like, that's the biggest compliment, is a referral. It really is, because it's like, wow, you liked us enough to tell someone else about us. So,
Yeah. That's really cool. And it's something I've never thought about, just the fact that you have to change your target market depending on where you are.
hmm
But that's a really smart way to do it, especially with the parents who have kids and who are super busy coming in and being like, "Hey, like we can help you take this off your plate."
hmm yeah,
That's cool.
it's a lot.
I hear ya. So challenge wise, when you first launched, or even recently, whichever one you'd like, what were some of the challenges that you faced?
Hmm. So I definitely say, pricing has been tough. Um, so part of that, picking what price is right. And of course we learned about it in business school, but still, it's like there's a lot of art to it too. Um, because you want to look at what is the value that we want to provide, what value do I think this competitor is providing, and then
Hmm.
also who is their target market. Like, there's just so many like little nuances in there. It's not just a, oh, pull up 4 websites and take the average and that's what we want to price it at. So
Right.
that is difficult, and I'm still kind of trying to figure that out. And then the second part of that is sticking to those prices, especially with the pandemic. And we were, excuse me, we did try to be understanding in a lot of cases, and giving discounts, and providing care when we could, for people that just weren't able to afford it at the time. But
Hmm.
for the folks that weren't really affected financially about it, just digging your heels in and saying, like, this is the cost of our service, and this is why it
Right.
costs this much, and this is how much we would like you to pay for it, and if you would not like to pay for it, here's some other options. But really being
Right.
firm about that is tough, because I'm a people pleaser, so it's tough, like, to say no to someone, and
Hmm.
but at the end of the day, it's the business.
It's a tough balance to strike because, as much as those people were affected by the pandemic, I'm sure you were as well. And even though you are working a full time job, there's probably people in the industry where they are relying on their entrepreneur hustles as their full time income. And so it's a tough balance to strike of, I want to help you out, but this is also my business and what I rely on for income.
Definitely, definitely. I was very grateful to still have our full-time jobs when, the pandemic hit us all, and my heart breaks for a lot of the companies around here that just couldn't survive. And I'm sure nationwide, maybe even worldwide. Um,
Yeah.
so it was tough on, like, so you're absolutely right. It's not just me, but whoever is providing this service for you, did they have food to put on the table? So I
Hmm.
mean, of course, business plummeted. We didn't get as many. I mean, people were home, so we weren't really doing walks. They weren't traveling, so no boarding, no sitting. So it did come to almost like a complete standstill. We had maybe 2 regular clients during that time that continued, but it just came to a halt. So we
Mhm.
lost some clients, we lost some team members that said, I need funds, and so I need to find another job, and this isn't going to work for me. So it
Mhm.
was a tough time. But like I said, thankfully we did have our jobs and our that income to fall back on. So instead, I chose to use that time for networking and really building for what I knew was going to come afterwards. Everyone was talking about, like, the hope of afterwards, the pandemic puppies, and everyone being, itching to go on their trips and things like that. So just
Mhm.
preparing for that. Like, what do I want to do? What training do I want to take? What community do I want to build? Who do I want to meet? And so all that time, that's when we came up with the pause and take a sip and started meeting for that. Like, all of that happened in that time of like hibernation or whatever for our business.
Mhm.
So I think just having the freedom to kind of do something else with that time and space was really, really helpful for us.
I think that's cool. I think it sounds like you looked at it as an opportunity
Hmm.
versus, and I'm sure it was a really tough time to go through. So for your business to go from having these many clients to almost coming to a complete halt, that's not easy to go through. But I think that's amazing that you took that time to pivot and look at opportunities and look to network and connect with people. And I think those are all things that are going to be really important for the future of Breaking with the Bradleys.
Yeah, that's when we learned how to screen print. So these shirts, we're
Yeah,
like, what else can
new
we do?
skills.
And so we're like, let's
Everyone else
make
is baking
stuff.
sourdough, and you're like, let's screen print.
Let's make t-shirts. It was a factory in here. We have so many. I'm kind of a hoarder. So I kept like all of the ones we messed up because I was like, oh, we can use them as tester shirts if we do others and things like that. But I had,
Hmm.
oh gosh, there were so many of them. The ones that still look like okay, I donated them. So we'll see
Hmm.
somebody wearing it for free.
So is it a machine, or how does that work? Did you have to buy some sort of special equipment?
Yeah, we bought the kit.
I have no idea how screen printing
We
works.
bought the kit. I don't know. I'm sure there probably is some fancy machine for like the big companies, but for us,
Hmm.
it was like it literally is. It's like a screen. It's like a
Like
mesh
a
screen, and
okay.
and you put the like so on transparency paper you have to put like whatever your design you want, and then you put this like
Hmm.
paint on it and you have to let it cure under this bright light, and then the next day you have your like the shape or whatever design you want on the stencil, and then at that point you like rinse it through and blah blah blah, and then you pour the ink on the screen on top of the shirt, do a little squeegee, and then that's what you get. Then you have to let it
Wow.
dry, and then you have to iron it. So it takes a lot of time, and then since we didn't have the machine, there were some that were like crooked, some didn't go through right. Like it was just it was a mess. But it was fun, and you feel like you did something with your hands, so
How
it's
long
nice.
does one t-shirt take?
Oof. If you take into like the curing and everything like that and
Hmm.
setting, probably like 4 days.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of time.
It
Um
sounds like a stamp. Like you stamp the t-shirt. And I'm also kind of imagining, like, back in the day in the classrooms with the projectors, like the screens, and then you'd have the
So
I
it
don't know
is a
what they're called.
transparency screen. Oh, the
The
projector.
transparent,
Yes, you
yeah,
use
yeah.
you use a transparency
That's
screen.
kind of what I'm imagining.
Yeah, you're on it with that, and then you have to like squeegee and like use the right amount of pressure. My mom had like helped us out a lot, and she thought she was a master. She's like, you have to do it at this angle and this pressure, and like do this, and so she was trying to teach us. So it was I guess a bonding experience, if nothing else.
That's cool. You got to get her on YouTube, get a tutorial going.
I try to get her on YouTube all the time for so many things, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I should do that," and then she just
I gotta do that for my mom. My mom just retired and she learns so much from YouTube. Like we've built my benches, excuse me, and my planters in my backyard. She like sews and cooks and does everything and she learns all of this shit. Maybe not the cooking, but she learns so much from YouTube. I
Mm,
feel like she should just have her own
she
channel.
should. We need to get them
We'll
together to
start like a
do one.
dog mom,
Yeah.
dog grandparents YouTube channel.
This is just random. Doesn't have anything to really do with dogs, but like you should probably
Yeah,
know. You should probably know how to do the screen printing or or how to build a
exactly.
bench.
We'll file that away on your list of
Oh,
business
I will.
ideas.
Note taken.
So, in kind of going back to
Oh
challenges,
yeah.
I wanted to ask you about the 757. So,
Mm.
you had mentioned on a Fun Fact Friday post that 757 is the Hampton Roads location or the service area,
Hmm.
and that more than once you had thought about discontinuing services there. Can you talk about what kind of led to that and what made you continue those services?
So yeah, 757, Hampton Roads, as you said, we were both raised in that area, Alton and I. So one of our team members, and she was my bridesmaids, one of my best friends, was actually moving home and was in between jobs. And she was like, I would love to support your business. I love what we're doing. She's been like part of the whole process. And she's like, what better way than to like do some walks for you? And she's like, people already know you at home, like you have a good reputation here, so at least I hope I have a good reputation. And she's like, so why not, like let's give it a shot, have like another branch. And so it was really exciting, and I, a little scary, but I was like, let's do it. Like, what is there to lose? It's not like we have a brick and mortar, so it's like
Mm-hmm.
just start letting people know you're doing it there. So we, kicked off super slow picking up. um, we got a few here and there, but it's just so much more difficult when you can't like swoop in at the last minute when someone needs you. So having her was great, but then when she started like working her job and said, okay, I need to step away from this. So then it's like, do I want to continue to keep it going? And I'm one of those people that's like, I want to keep trying. I don't want to feel like a quitter. So I'm like, we're going to make this work. So then we hired other team members, and, I try to do flyers. We're a sponsor for the Virginia Beach farmers market down there. And so just different like marketing opportunities, but it's just so, it's hard finding clients. It's hard keeping clients.
Mm-hmm.
People, shifting around. That is another one of the challenges I want to talk about in general, is just hiring and retaining people in a job like this. It's not a career. It's not something someone goes to and is like, I'm going to be a dog walker for 20 years and then I'm going to retire. Like a lot of people are here as like a transitional job. And so when you're trying to create those relationships, you're trying to create um, those connections between the clients and the walkers or the care providers. It's really
Mm-hmm.
tough when you have people that are going in at like a revolving door. So
Right.
just trying to keep, at least here in this service area, um, I am the kind of like the thread,
Like that constant.
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
even if someone does have to change every now and again, like I'm still here. I can still come. I can, if everyone
Mm-hmm.
else says, they have something else to do, like I'll drop everything and make it work. But of course, like no one's gonna love your business like you love it, and bend over backwards like you're gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's tough from far away. So we think about it from time to time, but it keeps like trucking along. So we'll see. We'll see.
How many walkers do you guys currently have over there?
So in Virginia Beach right now we have two. We actually had three that recently left us. So and I think that happens as well with kind of like the cleanup of the year. It's like, hey, just checking in, and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
found another job, doing something else. It's been great, but
Mm-hmm.
we just don't have the clients, the work for to really retain people. And so it's like that chicken and the
Right.
egg situation where like, okay, do I bust my butt to get all these clients and then I don't have anyone to walk the dogs? Or do I hire all these people and then, oh, you're just sitting around twiddling your thumbs until I find a dog for you to walk? So
That's
it's,
tough.
yeah, everything that has to do with handling people has been a huge challenge.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that's one of the things that I think was probably most challenging about my last job, but also really fulfilling. I managed a team of 11 web
Mm.
developers globally. So some people were in the Philippines and some people were in LA. And they were like family. Like my team was like family to me, but it's also a team of web developers. And if you know web developers, they can be a difficult bunch. So not the they can have difficult personalities to work with, and so that was a challenge for sure. um but managing anybody, I think, can be really tough.
It is, and I like going back to it, people pleaser. So, I want to make sure everyone's happy and like you like me and you like the business and and just trying to placate all these other, situations and trying not to be too controlling or too micromanage or ask too much of them. But
Hmm.
it's it's difficult, but I think that the hiring process, I think that helps a lot. We've made some tweaks to the onboarding, and
Hmm.
that's helped us to kind of onboard a different kind of person, a different kind of team member.
Mm.
Um, and that's helped a lot. And then I think also just like knowing at the end of the day, like whoever's gonna be like with you and really like believes in your business and your team, like they're gonna stick it out. And
Yeah, for sure.
so just kind of
what were
yeah.
what were some of the tweaks that you guys made?
So a big one was adding Alton into the equation. So
Oh.
I think with just having different personalities and I think having that second person to kind of like bounce come up with questions with, and okay, what did you think about that response? Or for me, if someone's smiling, and I'm not going to say I'm gullible, but if someone's like smiling and give a good answer, I'm like, okay, I think she was pretty good. And then he'll be like, this and this and this, and I didn't like this and I didn't like that. And he's just a lot more, I think, with his like his dad was a Marine and he was a police officer, as I noted before. So I think his just like, he can kind of see through. He can see through all that. And
His
so
bullshit radar is
yeah,
better.
exactly, exactly. So just having him as part of the process, it helped a lot. And then also, another thing was the questions that we asked. So, for example, when I talked about how long are people going to actually be around, are they going to be kind of like, oh, I'm just here for the summer while I'm home from school, or something like that.
Hmm.
So that was actually a question that we put into there, like, where do you see yourself, with this business? How long do you think you'll be here? Like, what do you want from this? What is
Hmm.
your minimum? Um, uh like I don't want to say, we didn't say check, I can't remember what exact wording that we used. It was a good question, but we basically asked like, what how much do you need from this? Like, are you dependent upon this job for your income, or are you
Hmm.
looking for side money? Are you like, what is your goal? What are your goal for the business? What's your goal in life outside of this? Like, and I think just really figuring out where we fit into their story and their like mission was really helpful to figure out if they were a good match for us or not.
What did you find? So, some of the answers where people were talking about what their goal was in life,
Hmm.
was it? I'm guessing it's not necessarily, I want a dog walking business, I want to be in the dog industry, but what were some of the clues for you, that they would be kind of more longer term, retended? Is that a word? Retention, have longer term
Retended.
retention.
We can make retended a word.
Longer term retended employees. It's now a word.
Yeah, it is. Um, I I'm trying to think. It's funny. As soon as you asked, like one popped into my head. One of the team members that we have right now, actually, she was looking to get into the like wildlife preservation and wildlife photography. And
Hmm.
so I could just tell from her answer that she put a lot of thought into what job she wanted. She said, "Okay, I'm
Mm.
going to these classes. I would like some income on the side, but I also know that I'm gonna need experience with animals on my resume when I try to get this job." So I was like, okay, that was really like, you're thinking a few steps ahead. It's not, this is what I want to do right now. I found you on
Right.
Indeed and I click submit and my resume was uploaded. It was like, I'm actually thinking about this. Or someone else, um, she had really recently got into training her own dogs, and so she said after that, she's like, I didn't even like dogs, or I was afraid of them before that, but after training my own dogs, I wanted to get more experience with them, and I liked being around them. So this was something, being, stay at home right now, this is something else that I can do that will, like, be fulfilling to me, and I could, get out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
Someone else said they like dogs, and they also wanted to lose weight. So she's like, why not get paid to walk, and have a dog with you? So it's just
Mm-hmm.
like, it's not so much of, oh, my goal is to, like, save the world and open like this shelter for, three-legged
Right.
dogs. It doesn't need to be lofty. It's just like, did you really think about this? And,
Yeah, like the thoughtfulness behind it and the intention behind why they're
exactly,
applying.
exactly.
That's a good way to look at it. I was going to ask you a question about. Oh, so I think the last thing when it comes to challenges that we were going to talk about was profitability.
Yeah, that was on my list. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
oh my goodness, I don't know how we're here. Like, we're in, what do we say? We're in year 3 now, and we
Mm-hmm.
still have a negative. So it there's months, though. There's months where I look at
Mm-hmm.
the dashboard and I'm like, oh, we made a lot of money. Like, that's exciting. But I think
Is this like your own spreadsheet or is it a specific
I
dashboard?
use Wave
Oh, okay.
accounting.
Right, right, right.
hmm
Yeah.
So when I pull it up, and I always look at, like, where the bars are going. But it's
Mm-hmm.
just, there's some months where we are, we're making money and it's nice. But I think just, reinvesting back into the company, whether it's, we put in new, like, cleaning procedures with COVID, and so between all, like, in-home services, we have a cleaning service done. So, like, that's money, like paying people that are
Right.
walking the dogs when I can't be walking the dog. And that's actually why we hired in the first place, because I was like, this doesn't make sense, because our market needs midday walks and I'm working in the middle of the day. So I had to start hiring people. So of course, now funds go to them for their check.
Mm-hmm.
And then what else? Insurance and
Mm-hmm.
licensing and
Have you guys taken money out to pay yourselves, whether regularly or like a one-off kind of thing?
not really. I mean, unless you want to say, like, when we're out doing an event, we're like, we'll buy some food on the card, like, ooh, like, put it on my card.
That doesn't count. You can expense it.
But no, we haven't. And it's funny you say that, because so this year, and this has been a confusing mess to us, we're switching from 1099 contractors to W2 employees. And so part of that, or what comes with that package, I guess, if you want, is workers comp as well. And as I was
Mm.
filling out the questions for the quote, they were like, how much do you and the other co-owner get a year? And I was like, 0. And they're like, it must at least be 1. And I was like, 1? Like, we don't take any money from this. So I guess and that's what I was thinking. I was like, aren't we doing something wrong? Like, the whole point of a business is to make money. So
Well, a lot of, I mean, so I hear it takes a few years to be profitable, right? And this is coming from someone, we've had this conversation recently where you were surprised to find out that I'm actually not paying myself from Kono's Kitchen
I
either.
was very surprised. I was like, how are you doing this? You quit your full-time job, you're doing Konas. How are you keeping your lights on?
By the seat of my pants. um, yeah, and I think that's something that's probably a whole other conversation too, but that's something that I think a lot of people would probably be surprised that many businesses don't do, is pay themselves or pay themselves very much. And for me, like the way that I do it is with freelance work. So I supplement with other work. But this year I do want to try and figure out how I can start paying myself even just a little bit from Kono's Kitchen, and part of that is just building out new revenue streams, and even if it's a few hundred, like I've heard from several other entrepreneurs that mentally the act of paying yourself, it helps to kind of push your business forward. You're more incentivized, you are taking money out, and so you're more motivated to not, I don't want to say hustle more, but to work for more money to kind of pay yourself with. Um,
That's a good.
so
I
that's
never
that's
thought
on mine.
about that. Huh. So how much are you going to
Yeah,
pay yourself?
I'm not sure. I think right now I'm thinking maybe between 3 to 500. So I'm factoring in other freelance revenue streams, sitting down with my mom and kind of trying to figure out what money is coming in and how much I can actually take from the company. Because, like you, I've been reinvesting it into the company all this time. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I've been so hesitant to even pay somebody to help me out with stuff, which honestly, at this point, like I am full time working on this and others, a full time entrepreneur. So I feel like I have the time to be able to do email marketing, do sales, do
Right.
social media, build out multiple other arms of my business, which seems like a lot,
It
but I
does.
feel like for now I'm okay with that because I don't have to pay someone else to do
Yeah, it's I'll have to do that. We're going to start small. I'm not going to it's not going to be like you, but
it. Start with the dollar.
yeah, yeah, right? I get $1 this it's payday. Don't spend it all in one spot. Yeah, I don't know. But I'll have to do that. I never thought about that. But it's tough, and it's like I said, it's a little disheartening because it's like, man, we're working so hard. But something that I have seen though that was exciting is over the years, the amount that we're bringing in has increased like a lot.
Hmm,
But it's just our expenses have also increased a lot.
right.
So really getting down to the nitty gritty, and I don't know if we need like a financial advisor or what, but so hopefully, I'm sure a lot of people are gonna email me like I can help you.
If you need her email, hit me
I
up.
know, right? Like I'm a financial advisor, but I would like to figure out how to make money this year. That's New Year's resolution 2022.
That's a good goal to have for your business. How to make money,
I know.
which is tough. It's not something that happens overnight. There's rarely are there overnight successes. I remember when I first started, I would watch these YouTube videos that were like how this person makes $30,000 a month on Shopify, and I was like, all right, I got 6 months to get
Let me
there.
do it. Yeah, no, I won't lie. I saw something, and I like to this day I use it all the time on Alton. I saw something that was talking about how you can get to like 6 figures as a dog walker, and I was like, babe, you have to believe in me. We're gonna make 6 figures, like with this business. Like we're gonna get there. And I'm like, this lady said it. If she could do it, we can do it. Like I don't know how long
That's
it
what's
took her to
so
do it.
tough about what's out there. And honestly, that's one of the reasons why I started this podcast is because I want to get into the nitty-gritty and like the realities of what small business ownership is really about and what it really looks like. And what it really looks like is not necessarily 6 figures your first year or $30,000 overnight in a month.
Yeah, it's not. Unfortunately, it's not. But fortunately for me, that's not what we're in it for. But unfortunately, it's not.
Right.
Like if we got into
Right.
this,
We're in it for the dogs
yeah,
and to help
yeah, of
people and
course, of
stuff.
course. I mean,
Yeah.
of course, we would love to make the money, but we're not heartbroken when we don't make any.
We'll get there
We
in
will.
due time,
We will.
just not overnight.
No.
So, the last thing that I wanted to touch on was imposter syndrome, because that's something that you and I have talked about a couple of times. And I think that's something that a lot of people feel
Hmm.
and is relevant to a lot of other business owners. So, for you, how does imposter syndrome manifest in your life and in your business?
So I think that was a really good segue because that's something I look at. Not just in the dog care industry, but small businesses in general. I look at like, wow, like how did they get to this point so quickly? What are we doing wrong, or are we doing something wrong, or how
Hmm.
are they
Or could we be
making
doing more?
exactly like I just don't understand why it's not adding up. Like what is their secret? But then also social media, I think that's like a big one for a lot of folks. When you sit and you look at someone else's page and you see how many followers they have, how many likes they're getting on their post, um
Hmm.
when I first started getting more into Instagram for the business, I remember looking at other, and people probably still do it, but I haven't seen as much in my feed because algorithms getting something right, I guess. But the folks that, and then no knock to this, but the folks that like the page is so like perfect, and they have like filter, like the same filter for all their, and it changes with the
Yeah.
season, and it's just like, oh my goodness. And I was like, I want this. Like, we need to pick a filter, and we're doing these like all the pictures need to go with the theme, and like the little pictures make big pictures. Like, we need to do this. And I tried.
Little pictures make big pictures.
They did.
I know
You
exactly what
remember
you're
that? And
talking
I was like,
about.
this is
Yeah.
cool. Like, we need this. So I was like, people are gonna take us seriously unless we look like this. So I was really trying, and then after a while, I just was like, I'm not getting this. I'm not. I was trying so hard to like post every day that I just got to the point where I was like, okay, this is cute. Like, came up with this comment, and just go. And now I look at the page and I'm like, this is perfect. This is us. This is like what's going on. This is who we take care of. And
I love that.
yeah, it's like this
I feel
this
like
is where
it's
we are.
authentically you. And that's something that I struggled with too, was like, oh, I need that. I need those filters. I need to have like blocks where there's themes of colors and
Yes.
stuff like that.
All of that.
But honestly, I think it's just the content. What's more important, I think, is the content that you put out and the fact that it's transparently, authentically you.
Hmm.
I think that means so much more to people than how it looks aesthetically. Even if, like, at first glance, maybe you'll get a lot of people. And also, another thing I've learned too is that follower count doesn't necessarily translate into sales
That I know from doing.
or engagement.
Right, from doing giveaways, I realized that right away. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, "Oh my god, we got so many followers!" It's like nobody bought anything, nobody booked
Mm-hmm.
anything. So
Yeah.
it's tough, but still looking at it, it feels like a measure of success. Um,
Mm-hmm.
from the outside looking in, I'm like, oh wow, their business is uh so profitable. It's everybody wants their dog to go here. Like, how do we get to this point? So
Mm-hmm.
that with businesses, and then also like stepping back, like just as a dog mom, I think a lot of folks assume that I'm like a dog trainer as well, and we did dabble in that a little bit. But then it's like when we're outside and they're reactive, I feel almost like, oh my gosh, like I'm so embarrassed. Like, I'm supposed to be a dog walker and they're looking at me, and I can't even, get my own dog to stop like yapping and pulling and things like that. So that's another one, just like as as a person looking at other people that have
Mm-hmm.
their dog and check, and mine's just doing whatever they want to do. To an extent, we've worked a lot with training, but like
Mm-hmm.
they're no polished pebbles.
Do you feel like, since social media wise, since kind of accepting that this is who you are and this is what your feed is, do you feel less of that imposter syndrome looking at other people's accounts?
Mm. Depends. It depends on the day. I do think, like, I'll say again about our group, the pause and take a sip, just kind of seeing like behind the curtain with a lot of you guys has helped that, to kind of
Mm-hmm.
just the reminder of like, you're not alone. Like, no matter what you see, like there's probably some hardships behind there, and like we're all going through this
Mm-hmm.
together, but we're trying to put on a pretty face.
Right.
So that has helped me. But like I said, it depends on the day. Like, you know, there's some days where I'm feeling like super confident and super like go get him, and I don't care what anybody else is doing. Like, I'm focused. And there's other days where I just feel kind of not so confident, and questioning
Mm-hmm.
everything that I do, and just and that really like spikes as well with like what's going on with the business or with my life in general. Like, if we just had someone
Right.
quit, then I'm going to be second guessing myself. If I had a bad meet and
Right.
greet, I'm going to be second guessing myself. So it's just like little things that happen throughout the day or throughout the week that kind of just shift my focus when I look at social media. And there's some days where I've gotten to the point now where I could like know that like I don't even want to be on social media. So like I'll see the red
Mm-hmm.
bubbles, and I'll see like you got a friend suggestion, and they'll try to pull you in, and I'm like, I just don't even have the energy or the mindset right now to like go into this and for it to be a healthy experience for me.
I think that's really good that you've recognized that in yourself, because that's something that's really hard to do, is set those boundaries with social media, and especially when there's notifications and you keep getting pulled back. It's tough. It's tough to get on there and see everyone else's things and not compare yourself to them. And you're definitely not alone.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
That is a good
And
thing.
actually, in 2020, Kajabi, the teaching platform, they released a study that basically said that 84% of business professionals and entrepreneurs feel imposter syndrome. And
Wow.
that's kind of interesting, because I think, to me, it almost gives it less power,
Mm,
because I feel like if everyone else is feeling like an imposter, then nobody's an expert,
that's true.
and we're all, or then we're all experts, however you
However you
want to
want to,
look
yeah,
at
however you want to look at it.
it.
But it's like, what's up with that? What is that? 16% of people, how are they feeling? How are they living? Like, how did they get there? Ugh.
Yeah, let's get them together and ask them.
Or maybe they answered that question because they have imposter syndrome and they didn't want people to know that they
And they
had
lied.
imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Mm,
Well, I think another way to look at it too is kind of questioning, like, what do we feel like we're imposters about?
mm,
Because if we it depends on our I think imposter syndrome kind of depends on our definition of success, right? So if we're
that's
looking
true.
at it as a successful company is making X amount of money, which we don't always have insight into, or has like 100,000 followers or whatever else it is, that's a different definition than like the way that you want to live your life, or wanting to travel, or having the freedom to travel and do what you want. And so I think that also kind of plays into those imposter syndrome feelings, and how we let it affect us.
For sure. I remember you made a post about that too, with your tiny house goals when you changed what success was going to look like. So that
Mm-hmm.
was a good one. You do have really thought provoking content, so that's good.
Thank you.
Mm,
Yeah, that's something that I went through last year, beginning almost a year ago, was kind of redefining that. And I think for me, like, I still have imposter syndrome a lot of times,
mm,
and I think that that's normal for those feelings to come up. But I think for me, a lot of times it's kind of going back to that definition, and my definition of success, that helps to ground me and helps me realize that I'm not these other people,
mhm.
and that I'm going to do things my way and grow my company on my own timeline. And that gives me a lot more peace when I am thinking about it.
That's good. That's really good. Just going back to, like you said, why are you doing it? Don't worry about, these other people, because their definition might be different than yours.
Mhm.
Because they could be trying to go after like engagement, and you have more engagement on your post than they have, or like you said, you want to get to a tiny house, and they could have like five tiny houses, and
Yeah.
so it's like, but what is your goal? If a tiny house wasn't their goal and they have five, they don't really care if they have five tiny houses.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I thought I was supposed to do with my business was grow it and then go public, or grow it and
Mm,
have
go
investors, because I thought,
public. Woo.
I don't really know what that
Lofty.
means, but like,
Lofty.
I mean, that's what I thought people who have businesses do, because I watch Shark
Yeah,
Tank.
yeah, they do.
But then when I actually think about what I want to do, that's not necessarily my goal.
Right.
So that definitely helps. But yeah, having imposter syndrome, you are not alone in that. It affects many of us.
I appreciate that. I'm not alone. I think, like you said, just knowing that number, 84%, like that's a lot of people. So if we're all looking
Yeah.
around and, not feeling secure with who we are, then what does that mean about like us as a whole? Like if we just come, we can all come together and realize that, like, okay, maybe we're second guessing who we are and like what we're here to do, then
Mhm.
I think just bouncing off of each other and being able to look at yourself from someone else's perspective could be really helpful in that regard, because there's so many times where I, vent to my mom or my friends, and they help me, they listen to me, but at the same time they're like, man, like, I'm, so proud of you, like you're really doing this, like you have a business, and like it looks like you guys are doing really well, and even if it's like not doing, but it's still just having, you don't have, sometimes the mirror like lies to you, you know what I mean? So just having
Mm-hmm.
someone else to give you that reassurance from the outside looking in, it can, give you that boost of confidence that you need when you're kind of second guessing what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. And I think with more of these conversations too, and kind of just unveiling, like, yeah, I go through that. I feel that too. I've gone through this challenge in my business. I feel like that can be really helpful to people
Hmm.
who are maybe discouraged when they see other accounts or other businesses that seem to be much more successful than they are.
Definitely.
Seem to be being the key word
I know, right? And then
that you
it's
got to
like
keep in mind.
you want to put on a front for like your clients, because you want to be like, we're the best business, like come to us. But at the same time, like, we're all people, and I think like humanizing that as well. Like, of course, don't, take your work seriously, do the best you can, but I think
Hmm.
there's that human aspect, and that's who you really want. Like, we've had clients that we haven't had poor clients, but I've heard about clients that aren't as, respectful or forgiving when it comes to, just things that come up in life and in business.
Hmm.
But for us, I think overall we've had a lot of folks that understand, like, the pandemic happened, and we have a family, and we have dogs of our own, and like,
Hmm.
we want to travel ourselves, we want to do a vacation. So it's like, just having that level of respect, really, and just like accepting that, you're learning as you go. And I'll tell
Hmm.
them that, like, I'm like, hey guys, we're switching to this new invoicing system. We're figuring out just like you are. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll try to help you out. And whenever if they do give me a complaint or like a frustration, I'll say, oh, thanks so much. That's great feedback. And then I don't just say that. I go reach out to the help desk, and I'm like, hey, this just happened. What do we do to make sure it doesn't happen again?
Right.
So you're just like
And
constantly
those are the
growing.
people that are going to stick with you, is the
Hmm.
people who can see you doing that and see that you're actually putting action behind your words.
Right, right. Like, we're trying here. We're trying to be more legit, because in the beginning we were just like getting Venmo payments, and people still like want to just pay us on Venmo. But then I'm like, I'm trying to be professional. Like, pay me through my invoicing. Like,
Hmm.
we're gonna do this. Like, we're gonna put on a show. We're gonna, fake it till we make it. And that's what we did. Like, when we were coming up and just like making our business and building it, we're like, we're gonna run this like we're a big, operation.
Hmm.
And so that way it did make it a little easier as we started to scale. And of course, we're not as large as I'd like to be one day, but still, I think that like along the way it won't be a big shift. We'll already be
Yeah.
using these tools and
Yeah, for sure.
processes that we can just build upon.
Yeah, I agree. I am 100% on team. Set things up now, set up the foundation now so that when you're scaling, it's already in place.
Like the SOP,
I like the
helping me with my
SOPs.
standard operating procedure.
Yeah, I freaking love writing those. Give me all the boring shit. I'll do it for you. All right. So, as we are wrapping up, my last
Yeah.
question to you was, what does creating space to fail mean to you?
So I'm so glad you sent it before, because I had to really think about this. I'm glad. If you would have asked me on the fly, I probably would have been like deer in headlights, because it's a good question, but I'm like, uh. um. So I think, really, since we don't have a like set of instructions for setting up businesses, and of course we have like lessons learned and like best practices and mentors and things like that we can lean on, like, it's not going to be the same for, even if it's a franchise, it's still not going to be the same for each and every person, because it's like, a different time, a different location, a different economy, like, just
Hmm.
different. So there's no way to really know where you're going to end up, what's going to come of what you're doing. And so I think as soon as you acknowledge that and like set that expectation for yourself, have goals to strive for. Like, 100% do that, but still being like very realistic in your expectations that you don't know 100% how this is going to turn out.
Mhm.
So as you go through your journey, if there's certain points in time where something turns out like really well, like take that time to celebrate, like step back and, you know, take some time, whatever you like doing to, whether it's going out to eat or going out to dance or whatever, going on a trip, like congratulate yourself for that. But then I'm sure there's also times where like things didn't work out as well, but still take a step
Mhm.
back, reevaluate, like what did you do that you probably wouldn't have done if you did it again, and just
Mhm.
like recalibrating and giving yourself that time to like reset, pivot, whatever you need to do, and
Right.
get back out at it. But I think just the
Right.
expectation is like the biggest part of it. Even when we were going through premarital counseling, we learned that the one of the biggest killers of relationships were unmet expectations. And so it's
Mm.
like, what expectation are you setting for yourself and for your business? So even just day to day, if I say I'm going to do XYZ like on Thursday and I only get to Y, I usually feel pretty crappy. Like even if I got those two things done, I'm like, this was a bad day, I'm so unproductive. But if I say like, oh, I'm going to do like X on Wednesday, Y on Thursday, Z on Friday, and like I knock those things out, and like whatever amount of time I give myself, I knock it out, I feel so
Mhm.
much better. So I think that's just like a small, like watered down example, but really just like breaking it off into baby pieces and giving yourself that time to really just like to dig into whatever you're doing at that moment in time.
I think that's really good advice. Just giving yourself that grace for
Mhm.
when things don't turn out the way that you expected them to, or the way that you expected yourself to handle something, and then
Mhm.
being able to pivot from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
It's
awesome.
it's a whole learning journey, but for me it's like keeping, I think you mentioned this before, like your why and why you're doing this. And um my friend that helped us with the Virginia Beach one was like, maybe you should come up with a business mantra. And like that's been so cool to me. And I thought about posting it and I was like, nah, I really want like other people to see it. But like even if it's just like for you, like keeping a list of like
Mhm.
what goals you have and keep it, like don't throw them away, because then you can look back and like maybe your vision changes, maybe your definition of success changes, but still like just looking at the growth that you've had so far, and
Yeah.
remembering why you started, and that it might change a little bit, but overall like it should be a solid like sense of purpose and identity and why you started that. And I just have to take time every day to kind of just like refocus on that when I get caught up in the go go go.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's something that I can benefit from keeping in mind too, because I am, again, like constantly on the go.
Mhm.
And it's tough for me to step back. And when you're saying like acknowledge your accomplishments and celebrate the wins, like that's something that's really tough for me to do, because I'm always like, what's next? What's the next
Mhm.
thing on my to-do
Mhm.
list? Like, what's next to do? Um, it's easier for me to sit with the things I didn't do right. That is
Mhm.
much easier for
That
me.
is very
So
easy.
that is my takeaway at the end of this, is how can I give myself space, not only to fail and to pivot from there, but also to acknowledge my wins.
Yeah, I think I probably didn't answer the question the way you wanted me to, but I
No,
that's where I went. You were like, not really to fail, but like when you celebrate.
well,
I don't-
that was I think that you did answer the question in more ways than one.
Well, good, good. Yeah, I tried to think about it, but I put probably a little too much wine in my hot chocolate, so now my mind is like, well, keep talking.
You almost got away with the entire episode and nobody knowing that you had spiked your hot chocolate.
It's like, we'll just keep talking, and she's gonna, as long as she's nodding, that means what you're saying is good. It's like, and then when she stops, you just stop talking.
I love that. All right. So where can people find you on either Instagram or your website?
So Instagram, like I said, it's super long, y'all. So it's at Breaking with the Bradleys, and
Mm-hmm.
if it's Facebook, Breaking with the Bradleys. If it's email,
Bradley's LLEYS.
yes. hmm And then if it's email, breakingwiththebradleys at outlook.com.
Hmm.
And oh, website, last thing, www.breakingwiththebradleys.com. We try to keep it pretty simple. It's all just super long, Breaking with the Bradleys.
But one thing, so easy to remember.
It is. So yeah, but definitely, follow us. If you're in the either Sterling, Virginia or Virginia Beach, Virginia area, then definitely reach out to us about dog walking, boarding, sitting, all the ings, and then also our shop. So during the pandemic, like I talked about the screen printing shirts, we have some shirts, some bandanas for dogs, as well as a consignment boutique. That was something else that actually came from one of the members of our Pause and Take a Sip group, and the idea for that. So, Florence. So yeah, we have a
Hmm.
doggy consignment boutique online as well. So yeah, plenty of things. Come check us out.
And you've graciously offered a discount code for my listeners.
I
Space to fail
have.
15, I believe, is the code.
That
So
is.
if you go to breakingwiththebradleys.com, you get 15% off of anything in their online store with the code space to fail 15.
Mhm.
Cool.
Thanks so
Well,
much
thank
for
you again
having
so much,
me.
Akira. This was really
It
fun. And
was. It
I'm
was.
excited to, I'm sure we'll have another one of these, but I'm excited to get this uploaded and get this live.
I know. I'm so excited for you. I think it's going to be a really exciting year, an exciting project. So I
Thank
think
you.
this will be cool to watch along with. And it was an honor to be your first guest. I do not take that
My
lightly.
first guest. I
Mm.
really appreciate it. All
No
right. Well, it was
problem.
good talking to you.
Bye, you too.
Bye.